Welcome to the first edition of the Ruck Off Rugby News. I am Mark Moss.
And I'm Sam Leeming.
Rugby is back.
Find out why big signings are going over to Japan and applying their trade over there.
We'll also look at all of the major World Rugby signings.
And Bill Beaumont has been re-elected as the World Rugby president.
So rugby is back. Yeah, that's right. New Zealand have announced that they will start their One Nation Super Rugby tournament on the 13th of June. Rugby Australia have also announced that they will be starting on the 13th of July as well as the Premier League being given the green light to be able to resume training. Sam, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, really excited for the New Zealand derbies, isn't it? You know, all those teams going head to head. I think that's going to be really exciting, and just good for it all to be kicking off again. I think they'll be frothing to get started again.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great news for the sport. It's going to be great news for us fans, and get to actually see some live rugby on telly, even if it means getting up at stupid o'clock in the morning to watch it.
Well, that's the thing. I think that's one of the things where once everything starts up and in any sport, it's going to be thriving for all the fans to be watching it because they've been watching replays of old school games for the past nearly 2 months now. So it's going to be really exciting and a good prospect to watch on the TV screens.
Yeah, obviously, I think that it's going to be a while till we get the Premier League rugby back in this country, in Wales, Scotland, obviously with the top 14, the Pro 14 as well. But New Zealand done a fantastic job of containing the pandemic, and basically they're all free to do what they want very soon. And it's going to be the same in Australia as well. There was talk of the Sunwolves actually moving into the Australian division of this Super Rugby pool. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's also some of the Japanese teams wanting to get into the New Zealand conference as well. So okay. I think, everyone's got their different guidelines, and if the more teams can be involved, and they almost played a bit of catch up, aren't they, with the games that they've lost? But I think, more variety would be better. But especially for the teams and travelling, I think it'll be exciting proposition. To watch any of the teams go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more likely that the Japanese team's going to join the Australian conference. Obviously, New Zealand are being ultra cautious with any movement at all. Strict guidelines for them at the minute, and it has just been released that all the international fixtures this summer have been cancelled. All tours have been cancelled. Not surprising, obviously, with global pandemic going on. New Zealand aren't travelling, Australia aren't travelling, England aren't even playing rugby at the minute. So no surprise there, is there, Sam?
Yeah, England were meant to face Japan early July. It's not surprising. Ireland were meant to go over to Australia, Scotland over to South Africa, and to the All Blacks. So yeah, it's not surprising. Obviously, World Rugby have decided that, and I'm sure they'll catch up at some point.
Cool. So talk about Japan. What's the big news coming out there?
Yeah, so been really interested in some of the players that are signing over into the Japanese top league. Freddie Burns, Alex Goode, Owen Williams, Hadley Parks are some of the bigger names. I think it's very interesting that players are going over there to apply their trade. Potentially got a chat with Tom Savage for next week's episode, which will be really interesting. See how he's going on there. He's been there for a season and a bit. So I think, especially for the Japanese leagues, they're obviously mostly Japanese players, but their majority are Fijians, Australians, Southern Hemisphere, because they like to go over there and get a bit more rugby, either in the off season for the Super Rugby instead of playing the club rugby. So it's a fantastic opportunity for them to go over there, and I think it's a thriving league. I think you look at the Japanese national team and how well they've come on. They're one of the most exciting teams to watch the World Cup, weren't they? And I think that Japanese top league is obviously going strength to strength, and the talent that comes over from Australia and New Zealand really strengthens that. And I think it'd be really interesting to see someone like Freddie Burns, who's a bit more mercurial player, maybe fits that Southern Hemisphere mould a bit better than some other people. It'd be really interesting for him, and reading some articles, he's pretty fed up with the way that Bath have limited his game time. I know he's had some good competition in Reece Priestland, but I think someone like Freddie Burns to go over there and really express himself, a bit of faster game. It's a bit bit more headless, I suppose, a bit more Super Rugby-esque. Be
Mm.
really interesting to see how he gets on.
Yeah, what do you think is the appeal for Japan then? Obviously, you're looking at the stuff over there as a player, as a fan, and just looking at that environment. What's the appeal?
I think again, reading some articles, and obviously Freddie Burns is the most recent one, but I think the attraction for the culture and for players just to get a bit uncomfortable, to be honest. I think
Yeah,
for someone like Freddie Burns, who's been at Bath, Gloucester and Leicester, he's only been in this part of the country. Obviously he's played for England, which has been good for him, but I think he's 30 now, and he's in that. So there's a couple of things. One is the culture change, and
yeah,
I think the Japanese rugby is up and coming, it's challenging, it's fast, and it's a really exciting brand. I think that's what attracts players over there. I think secondly, I think players go over there. It's a shorter season. Shorter-ish
yeah.
season. You see the Super Rugby players go over there and doing 2 seasons. So do the Japanese League and the Super Rugby League and some of the club games in the Southern Hemisphere. But I think for some of the older heads, especially from the Northern Hemisphere, get over there, it's an opportunity to potentially extend their career. I don't think it's as physical potentially as the Premiership and as grinding as the Prem. I think it's a much different beast in that sense. So I think the opportunity to go over there, the cash is obviously good to get these big signings, which is a draw. But that to potentially extend your career for another however many years
Yeah.
is a really big draw, I think.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting talking to former Gloucester captain Tom Savage, hopefully this week, about it. What made it appealing for him, what he's enjoying most about it, and just find out that. Obviously, really growing rugby nation. You can see that through the last few World Cups, and have now just been promoted to a Tier 1 nation as well, which we'll discuss a little bit further when we discuss Bill Beaumont's re-election.
So it's not just big players that are moving over to Japan. It's just been announced that Johan Ackermann is heading over, leaving Gloucester with immediate effect and heading over to the Demoko Red Hurricanes. Huge news for Ackermann, who's done a world of good for Gloucester. And I imagine the current situation with the Premiership, he's taken up a pretty lucrative offer with Japanese top league side.
Yeah, big name coach. It's going to be interesting. Like me as an aspiring coach, I like to test myself in different environments. Been abroad to coach more recently. I'm heading out to South Korea to do a bit of coaching out there. So it's going to be really interesting what the climate's like over there for him, whether he's going to adapt or make them adapt to him. It's going to be really interesting what happens at that top level. It's going to be definitely something different to watch, isn't it?
Definitely, and that's going to leave a big hole at Gloucester. Not only a hell of a signing for that Japanese team, but he's done well of good. He brought a load of Saffers over to Gloucester and really helped develop that team. Obviously, with Cipriani at the helm. So
obviously, there's been some other big name signs in the last couple of weeks in World Rugby. You're looking at Kurtley Beale going to Racing. You're looking at Colby Franek going to Montpellier as well. 2 real big players there moving to France. Great news for them.
Yeah, Kurtley Beale, I'm really looking forward to him playing with Finn Russell. I think those French teams have just got too much money, haven't they, to get these players. But that's going to be really exciting. Kobus Ryanak, I know the Saints fans were incredibly disappointed for him to leave, but what a player he's been.
What a player.
Arguably the best performer in the Prem last season. And he's lit the stage up, and what a player, and he's really exciting to watch.
Yeah, looking at the depth in that South African 9 shirt, you got Ryanak, Yantes, and of course Faf de Klerk. They're all wonderful 9s, playing at ridiculous levels of rugby for me. So Ryanak's probably been the standout performer for Montpellier. He's just been not for Montpellier, sorry, for Northampton. He's led them to the top of the Premiership when they were there. He's been a consistent performer for them. Talk about Finn Russell there. He's just signed rumored to sign a new contract with Racing that's going to make him the highest paid player from the UK, which really shows the depth of cash that they've got over there in France.
And finally, Bill Beaumont's been re-elected as the World Rugby President, beating Augustin Pichot to take over, be re-elected. And he's got a bit of a job on his hands, doesn't he, Mark?
He does, yeah. People were pretty critical, particularly in the Southern Hemisphere, of Bill Beaumont and what he was doing. I think he's got a bit of a rebuild job to do, and I mean, there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons to having him there. I don't think he's done a particularly bad job, but I think the World Rugby has burnt a few bridges in the Southern Hemisphere. What are you thinking about that, Sam?
Yeah, I think there's a few issues around the player welfare, isn't there, and the amount of games that he was trying to push for. Yeah, some of the tiers playing more, putting more rugby fixtures in the calendar, which some of the players weren't happy about. So yeah, there's been a few things that he's maybe not got right, but you always.
There's also the financial aspect that a few governing bodies aren't really approving of. They're looking at trying to get more tier 2 nations to play tier 1 nations, and there's been a bit of a debate by the tier 1 nations that's going to lose them a lot of money, particularly if they have to travel to the Pacific Islands, which for us fans would be fantastic to go and see an All Blacks, to watch an All Blacks team play against a Fiji team in Fiji. But it's going to be difficult because there is a lot of finance in rugby now, and rugby is a business. I saw something that Bill Beaumont said after he was re-elected that he wanted to push change, and it's difficult after having his, I think it's 4-year tenure there already, and not really changed a lot. Yeah, he has tried to push a few things, but he hasn't really changed a lot to talk about change. And I want to do some change. What have you done so far? That's the question, isn't it?
I think there's going to be a lot of pressure with him, but obviously other sporting unions to gain some of the money lost from COVID. And I think test the water with that and trying to push rugby and get it back on the map, because other sports are going to be potentially getting back quicker than ours because we're a contact sport.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to have a difficult job, but I'm sure. Especially for those New Zealand teams.
It's a difficult job, and he's talked about this return to play and restarting rugby. And it's going to be a difficult global job. World Rugby are obviously going to have the hands in this just to set the foundations of what's going to be acceptable, what's not going to be acceptable. But it ultimately comes down to the governing bodies themselves, so such as the RFU and people like that, to get these processes in place. But yeah, we look at what got him re-elected. Really was that he has really positive bonds with a lot of the Northern Hemisphere governing bodies. Japan, obviously, we saw that they've just been promoted to a tier 1 nation, and I think that would have had a big hand in their vote towards him.
Yeah, looking forward to what certain unions are going to try and do to gain some of the business back and put on a show for the fans.
Well, that's it. Rugby's now a money business, isn't it? Obviously, people want rugby back as quick as possible. We're the same, but we want it to be safe as well. You as a professional, you obviously don't want to be putting your career, putting family members at risk going back and playing. It's very interesting. It'll just be the Premiership to return, if and when they do, and what knock-on effect that's going to have to leagues such as the Championship, seeing if they're going to start later. I don't know whether your club's been in discussion with you about pre-season yet, giving you a start date. Have they discussed that with you?
Not yet. It's still sort of waiting to see. I think it's just been announced that we can go back and use facilities, but obviously off season we wouldn't necessarily be doing that anyway. But I think we have to start to use social distancing measures if we are using the closed facilities. But you can now open, and I imagine Premier League footballers will be going in and stuff. But yeah, we just have to sit tight and see what they're going to do with the league, whether it gets delayed or pushed back. But I think it's looking quite good to start pre-season and stuff. So, but we just have to wait and see.
Good stuff. Well, that's it. Rugby's back. It's going to be back in New Zealand within a month. It's going to be back in Australia within 2 months, and hopefully within 2 months it'll be back over here as well. We're looking forward to staying up late or getting up early to watch some of these Super Rugby games, because some of them are phenomenal. We hope that you are too. Sam, if they want to find you on social media, where can they find you?
Yep, I'm on all the socials at samleeming10.
Yeah, I'm at Mark Moss 1996. You can follow us on Twitter at Ruck Off Rugby Pod, Instagram at Ruck Off Rugby. You can find us as a podcast on Instagram and Spotify at Ruck Off Rugby.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.